Sorry, you can't have both.
We will change the,
Well, Chair,
I'll change the words there from stakeholders community to our rural advisory panel.
That's right. Okay.
Chair.
Yes, Mr Wilcox?
Yep.
Well, I mean, because I thought tangata whenua always in Māori, because then that'll make the government think twice. I'm suggesting that perhaps we should say also with the Rural Advisory Panel and Māori.
And Independent Maori Statutory Board.
And Māori, because Māori haven't been consulted on this. That was the issue, and that was the principle on which I stood on. Because Māori weren't consulted about this submission, and no input had been, though a letter had gone out, I see there on the 14th, fairly late in the piece. We don't know what our Māori forest owners who own most of the forest in Auckland
They're capable
are thinking,
submitting.
and I don't know what they may be saying, neither do any of us.
Well, they can submit,
Sorry, there's an
can't they?
Sorry, you wish to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mr Chair. My name's Dave Allen. I'm with the Natural Environment Strategy Unit. I'd just like to make the observation that the public discussion document was released to stakeholders and others in mid-June. We have provided notification of that, or advice of that fact, to local boards and also to mana whenua reps that are on our central database. And we have no response from those parties through until about the 27th of July, when they were advised to provide feedback to us. So I just wanted to let you know that there has been some level of advice to mana whenua and also to local boards about this particular proposal.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we should just isolate it to the Rural Advisory Panel, and that kind of focuses just on to a pretty narrow requirement. So,
Point of order, Mr Chair.
Yeah, point of order.
Does that accord with our policy around submissions and engagement, or however it's expressed? Just confining ourselves to the Rural Advisory Panel?
We do it for
Well,
historical.
I'm entirely uncomfortable with that, and I don't think that it fits our policy.
Well, whether it fits the policy or it's being voted on here, and I think at the moment it will probably satisfy a number of councillors who weren't voting for it in the previous vote because of the fact that we hadn't talked to this particular advisory group.
May I have some advice from an appropriate officer as to the appropriateness of such a motion, limiting itself as it does to one organisation, which is simply a rural advisory panel, which is not even a constituted organisation for putting in a submission itself, but is rather a forum of individual parties, a number of whom have vested interests.
Okay.
So I don't think the situation you're in right now is not an unusual one. You get very short periods in which to think about your response as a council on national legislation or policy frameworks. So you're in a position that's not unfamiliar to you. So that would be the first point. And so whatever those submission periods are that are available, generally speaking, they're inadequate to do the sort of consultation you're now talking about, because you just don't plain have the time. And you're relying on the national machinery to actually make it available generally to the wider public and invite a response from them. What you are debating right now is the degree to which you as Auckland Council consult and engage with Auckland-specific organisations and representative groups. But you haven't. I don't know that you've had that opportunity to dive into that level of detail on other submissions due to the timeframes. So this seems to be a way through to help you to get to the point where you'll make a submission, because submissions close next Tuesday. If you don't deal with this today, you will be making no submission. So I think what you've got here is imperfect, or as perfect as it is. It's a way of getting you to a point where you've actually got a stated position, and the way the submission is written, that it's consistent with the position that you took when developing the proposed Auckland Unitary Plan, and all the consultation that contained within it. So all this is acknowledging, to my way of thinking, and it is your resolution, is that please receive our attached submission. We note with some disappointment we've been unable to consult with, and we start off with stakeholders. We've talked about community, but in this case we've now focused on the Rural Advisory Panel, and you're asking for an extension of time so you can actually go back and at least talk to one representative group without trying to meet all your other policy requirements or engagement requirements, but to have at least one conversation with one group. The chances of them extending the submission period, I'd say, are very slim. But if you don't ask, you won't find out either, but at least you'll get a submission in, and you've made the point you haven't had time to consult. So that's my take on what you've got here, and my recommendation is that you actually go through and now vote on it.
Okay, Arthur, are you going to second that?
Yes.
Yeah, seconded by councillor and I.
So,
Yes?
so it looks like we're not going to do any more with Māori. But then what would be the harm in sending them out a copy of our submission?
Look, if it was to send them a copy of the submission, I think that would be fine. They've received the opportunity to make a submission through the national mechanism, and that's entirely appropriate. The degree to which any of them will submit, only time will tell. The only thing new, and if they get a copy of our submission, then informs them about what we've said. But they'll only get that after the closure date, I should imagine, just because of the timeframes involved. You okay with that, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Right, I'll take the vote. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Declare that carried. Thank you.